Hi, I'm Mary, and this is another magical math moment. This video is going to be an introduction to angles. We're going to talk about angle bisectors, how to name an angle, straight angles, as well as vertical angles. So let's get to it. In this first angle, we can name this thing a few ways. One way is to just use the vertex. So I can say angle M, and that's one way to do it. This is only okay when you have one angle like this. Like I wouldn't go down here and say this is angle A because I'm not sure like which one I'm talking about. So just be careful. You can also call it angle 1 because there's that number in there. You could also go from one of these points on the side and go around. So you could say angle XMD. And then finally, you could go the other way, angle DMX. And if you know anything about me, you know DMX is my favorite rapper. Anyway, moving on. We've got angle bisector next. So an angle bisector is something that cuts an angle in half. So in this example, we would say that AR, which is a ray, is the angle bisector. The angle bisector of angle CAT. That's going to break this angle into two congruent parts. So angle CAR is congruent to angle RAT. We can also say that the measure of this angle is equal to the measure of the other angle. So geometry is very precise in the types of symbols that you use. All right. So next we're going to talk about straight angles. Straight angles are, their measure is 180. I was going to say supplementary, and that's true if there's two, but a straight angle is always going to be across here 180 degrees. So in this one, we could say that the measure of angle ART plus the measure of angle TRS is equal to 180. Okay, let's see some other applications of this stuff. All right, we've got AS, ray AS is an angle bisector. They want us to solve for X. So AS is here, it bisects angle CAT. That means that this little piece up here is congruent to that. So we're going to set them equal. 2x minus 5 equals 6x plus 3. Then we're going to go ahead and I would subtract the 2x to solve this thing. I've got negative 5 is 4x plus 3. I'm then going to subtract 3, and I'm kind of running out of some space here. So I get negative 8 is 4x. Then we're going to go ahead and divide by the 4. And I get negative 2 is x. Okay, this is kind of a weird one because if I were to put that negative 2 in here, I'm going to get a negative angle measure, which doesn't make sense. So can I solve for x? Yeah. Is it a really valid solution? In this case, not really, but that's okay. At least you get the idea of how to work one of these. Next, we've got finding the measure of angle 1. If I know that this is 120, I know that altogether this angle is going to equal 180. So I could say that the measure of angle 1 plus 120 equals 180. And then I can just go ahead and subtract them. So the measure of angle 1 is 60. Now, you might be saying, wait a minute, Mary, I can just do that in my head. And that's true. But later in geometry, you're going to be putting together proofs where you have to show all of your steps. So it's a good idea to kind of get in the habit of writing this stuff out. All right, one more topic to talk about here. These are the vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, and they share a vertex, okay? So vertical vertex, you can kind of see it like that. So if I look at this, angle 1 and angle 3, they're kind of like opposite. They are vertical angles. They share that vertex. Similarly, angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles. So I could say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3, and also that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Not too bad, right? An application of this, they might ask you to find the measures of all of the angles. Okay, so I know that 130 and the angle 2 are going to be the same. So when I have problems like this, I always like to kind of list out my angles and fill them in as I go. That way, if you're checking answers or your teacher's grading something for you, they can find the information very easily. So I've got 130 there. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, how am I going to figure out these other angles? Hopefully you remember that this is a straight line. So this whole angle is going to be 180. So I can say that the measure of angle 3 plus 130 is equal to 180. I can subtract here and I get 50. So the measure of angle 3 is 50. All right. If the measure of angle 3 is 50, then that means the measure of angle 1 is also 50 because they are vertical angles. Notice when I'm talking about the measurements, I don't include degrees. Some teachers are really nitpicky about this. Some don't really care. Another way you could say this is that angle 1 equals 50 degrees. That's also equal to angle 3. And then you could say angle 2 is equal to 130 degrees. Again, it depends on your teacher. So make sure you know what their preference is, and it will make a difference when you get to proofs. I hope this has been helpful for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.